Here we are for more bonds. We should have quite a lot of them to do today, so let's just start getting through a bunch of them. Goodness gracious. Alright. Oh, okay. Vesta, it's good to see you again. It seems you've fared well these last few years.
Huh?
Goodness, has it been that long? If I remember correctly, our paths last crossed at the Crooked Spire in 1100? Is that what it's trying to say? That's right. You have a prodigious memory, Maeve. It's part of the job requirement. That I can believe. But yes, I have fared well. And in times like these, you can't be too grateful for that. No, you can't. Until I found my temple overrun with undead, of course. If Irving and his friends hadn't arrived by some act of divine providence, I expect we'd be having a very different conversation now. Yes, the necromancer. Etlin seems to be the stage of relentless misfortune in this age. Has it ever been any different?
Actually,
It has. Every continent has seen its fair share of strife, and you have lived through plenty of it yourself. Some, yes. I think that's one of the advantages of the elves employed in the council services. It makes it easier to take the long view. And the half-elves, of course. I should hope.
the order.
At any rate, whatever we're up against must be pretty serious for our factions to be collaborating again. I'm afraid it is. I'd say on the upside, our cooperation has a chance to make history, but in reality, if we play things right, the world will never know the extent of our involvement. That's true. Taking to the shadows to keep the darkness at bay. Oh, I am so sorry. Taking to the shadows to keep the darkness at bay is a rather thankless job. And yet, I wouldn't trade it for all the glory of kings. No, nor would I. Maeve, have you been friends with Irving's dad for a long time? Actually, I've only spoken to him on a handful of occasions. Our two organizations cooperate now and then, but we mostly keep to our own. Before we got wrapped up with the aspects, I never knew how many secret organizations there were out there. Do you think there are more we don't even know about?
That's correct.
I'm quite sure of it. And not all of them are so benevolent either.
Wow.
That's a scary thought. Luckily, you're in good hands with this group. But still, it's all the more reason to remain alert at all times. Do you know about any of the secret groups yourself? I might. Marin says you know a lot of secret things. Not just because you're in the Mystic Council, but because of your old age.
Pardon?
Is that right? And how old did Marin presume I was?
Oh no!
Shoot, I forgot. She told me not to mention that. That's quite alright. Alden, she's correct. I am old. In human years, that is. I'm still relatively young for an elf. Yeah, you look like you're no older than, 20. But someone with even a couple years head start over you can have a wellspring of knowledge. I've known that to be true all my... Jeez. Oh, I had that apparently. But even a couple years head start over you can be a wellspring of wisdom. I have known that to be true in my own life. From what I understand, Alden, you were recruited from Brookstead Academy before your training was complete, whereas Marin just passed her final test. She might help you fill in the gaps in your training. You'd be wise to heed her advice when she offers it. She's definitely really smart, and a good healer, too. I do wish she'd give me a little space sometimes, though.
Very well.
She will, as your strength increases. In the meantime, My advice would be to try and be patient with her. Try not to rush the process. Alright, I can try that. Off on a new adventure. I'm sorry. I know Etlin is farther from home than you'd prefer to go. My wishes aren't important. The work to be done with these humans is... I pray it doesn't turn out to be too important. The student from Cosmere, he is exceedingly powerful. I know of him. Your counselors weren't the only ones keeping track. I do not believe it is within his motives to raise the dead. It is unlikely he is this necromancer we have heard tell of. Oh my goodness gracious. Gosh, I really need a nap. Necromancer? No. The one from the battlefield? Maybe. He has been suspected at the heart of 100 conspiracies in as many years, and not once did he turn out to be at fault. I feel a certain sympathy for him. He was never given a chance to acclimate to a normal life.
Pardon?
You feel you can relate to him? Very much so. We fear what we cannot understand. It is a mortal failing, but a constant one. Yet here we stand. One of the most renowned exiles, warden to a Grand Inquisitor. Perhaps our peoples are growing more understanding.
Not so fast.
I am not so optimistic. Don't make me ride to Faldron. Don't make me ride to Faldron to tell your wife you're being so pessimistic.
Aledos.
I said not optimistic. It's different from being pessimistic. As Lethos well knows. Thalel. Thalanel. You've been my warden for over 20 years, and it's been a long time since we've faced prejudice for it. A person's hatred need not be sated for me to know that it is there. I'm trying my best here. A person's hatred need not be sated for me to know it is there. Many see me as a monster.
We stand as one.
And many see me as a corrupt bureaucrat with too much power and too big a jurisdiction. We make a great pair. We do. Captain, I hear you've been with Irving's battle group from the start. At the start, it wasn't Irving's battle group. I was charged with their command. Yet I don't imagine it was your decision to defect, unless I'm mistaken. That decision was one we made together, and not one of us took it lightly. I'm sure that's true. Well, allow me to assure you it was the right one. Varric is impervious to reason.
Actually,
I have it... that was the wrong voice clip. I have it on good authority that his demeanor fell sharply before the war, and he has only unraveled further since. On what authority, exactly? Wait. Is this... Intelligence from a contract within his inner circle. Ugh. I'll not trust the whispers of spies any more than the word of an oathbreaker. That doesn't leave us much choice between.
No.
No, but I've heard enough of both to make up my mind.
very well.
Very well. Trust I have no intention of trying to change that.
Forgive me.
I only wish to commend you for your leadership. Without it, I'm not sure Irving ever would have come to his father unharmed, or that we know what we do of the aspects.
With honor.
I appreciate your words, Grand Inquisitor. If my actions have served not only Delia, but Terazel at large in some way, I am grateful for it. Then you have cause to be grateful indeed. Blazes. Why is this so hard?
Careful.
Need a hand with that fire? Oh, this is embarrassing. I promise, Elias, I'm not normally this incompetent.
I'm with you.
Please, no need for all that. It's hardly an inconvenience. There.
Huh?
Incredible. And you do that by just thinking? feeling, really. I don't know if I'd ever get used to that.
Perhaps.
I wouldn't say that I have.
Hmm.
Really. You seemed well in command on the battlefield. That's kind of you to
Take
say.
heart.
I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. Get a room!
Sure thing.
I'm sure you wouldn't. Mind if I warm myself a bit? There's a chill about. Why are we lighting a fire on a ship again? Be my guest. After all, it's your fire. Okay then, that was very short. Iris, I don't mean to presume, but if you blame yourself for our run-in with the elementals, you shouldn't. You may have an adept's gift, but there are others in our group who share them. A fight like that was likely inevitable.
If you say so.
Excuse me. Thanks. I appreciate that you say that. Although, if it was my fault, it wouldn't have been the first time. I see. Your powers must be very potent if attracting elementals is a regular occurrence. I guess so. I know so. You've demonstrated that in ways you've generously lent your gift to our effort. Excuse me. You've demonstrated that in the ways you've generously lent your gifts to our efforts.
I don't know.
I'm not sure about all that, but it's a nice compliment. Oh my gosh. Iris, you are depressed, and I feel you. Do you think you'll remain with us? I hope so. Everyone's been nothing but kind. It all depends on Monroe, really. Ah yes, the noble heir of Silvergarden. If I might speak freely, he seems like a piece of work. Of course. Of course you may speak freely. Not of course that he's... I know what you meant. If it's any reassurance, you can speak freely with me. I'm the last person who would go whispering your secrets in the ear of your employer. I'm a priestess, remember? Counsel in confidence goes with the territory. Thanks, Vesta. That means a lot. Of course. I'm glad to have you with us. Iris. I'm glad to have you with us, Iris. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, I won't. Vesta, I didn't get a chance to say this that night, but we were fortunate to find you in the temple. We'd come across undead before at Drakenwell, but never in such force. I wouldn't have known the first thing about cleansing the necrotic energy. I'm quite sure we owe you our lives. In the meantime, you have my thanks.
Effort. Duly rewarded.
Well, I'm not sure you would have found me alive had you not arrived when you did, so I'm more than willing to call it even. Perhaps we both have the gods to thank.
Indeed.
Yes, we always do. You're not from Delia, are you? No. Caramont. Then you're familiar with the god of my devotion?
By your grace, Fane.
Yes. Fane is the patron of our people. Among those who fear gods, anyway. So anyone beyond the walls of the capital. Fortunately, that's quite accurate. Vorin's harsh political climate doesn't lend itself well to religion.
I'm afraid not.
I disagree. The people of Vorin have simply taken up a different religion of their own. Perhaps you're right. In any case, I'm glad to be far from it. As am I. I'm grateful for the crossing of our paths, Captain.
We honor the gods with this victory.
May they lead us to victory, to the glory of the gods. To the glory of the gods. Butter! Oh, they're gonna become best friends! You wield powerful magic, young wizard. I guess so. Honestly, I don't really try to. It just kind of happens. Then you have a natural ability. That is a gift, but you shouldn't let it toss you about. I feel like I've gotten used to that at this point. With some improvements to your form, you could. Best to start now. What do you think I should change? When you cast a spell, take a warrior stance. Plant your feet at your shoulders' width, and bend slightly at the knees, and lean into the staff. This will help you anticipate the force of the spell. Huh. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe we could spar a bit so I could try it out?
You misunderstand.
Oh, Battle is a far better teacher than a sparring partner. Alright, I'll give it a go next chance I get. Think you could keep an eye out on me and let me know if I got it? It's hard not to notice your spellcasting, my friend. But yes, I won't be far. So, that's something... I don't... I don't know if I would agree with that. Maybe it's just me personally. But testing out something new like that in the middle of a battle where it's possibly life or death, that just doesn't feel like a good time to be testing stuff like that out. Thanks. We're really lucky to have you with us, Arumia. Harima... how do you say his name? For now, at least. But I hope you'll think about staying. There's no shortage of things to think about in times like these. But with or without me, all of you have an important role to play in the days ahead. And that means to accomplish your goals.
Yep.
That's right. I always knew my sister would do great things. In a way, graduating early turned out to be a good thing. Now I get to be part of it and help her. I'm sure she depends on you more than she admits, Alden. You have a lot to offer her, this group. I might say even more than most, but I wouldn't want that to go to your head.
Are you sure?
I don't know about that.
I like that.
Good. A bit of humility will serve you at least as well as proper form. Okay, I'm gonna Google Translate. Da, 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 da. According to Google Translate, it is Lithuanian. Let's see.
Orima.
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 Orima. Okay. Orima. I'll try to remember that. Orima. Sophia, there was something I wanted to show you. Wow, that was the most generic. Anyways.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Did Butter leave another present in your bedroll? Oh, Butter. No, not. Oh, it has actually happened. Not this time, but I figured out how to summon one of those storm spirits well enough to show you what they look like. Stay back, Butter. What are you worried about? I haven't even done anything yet. Aren't those spirits you may just summon to attack people? Well, usually yeah, but I can summon one that's completely harmless. But, do you want me to show you?
Well...
Alright, if you promise it's safe. I promise. Here goes. A bunny! Gods, it's so cute! Alden, wow, how'd you learn to do that? By accident, actually. I tried to cast a spell, thought it missed, then I looked over and see this little guy hopping around the battlefield. That's incredible. You've got a real talent here, you know? You could put that on a show or something. Yeah, it'll make a good party trick when this is all over. I bet it would. Aw, thanks for showing me that, Alden. And sorry I panicked for a second there. That was silly of me. I think it was just what I needed. It totally brightened my day. You deserve it. What you said to me before about giving myself credit for my accomplishments, that did the same thing for me. It's nice to return the favor. You really should give yourself credit. Look at what you just did. Hey, think you can do it again? Absolutely. Irving, when we entered that temple in the well, did you feel sick? Felt stifled, as if from the humid air, but there was something far more oppressive at the root of it. Yeah, precisely. When that poison was released, I hardly noticed a change. I was already nauseous. I knew I couldn't have been the only one who felt it, but I had to be sure. What do you make of it? Well, the guide is obviously the obvious source. Can you decipher anything about it?
Perhaps.
The closer I get to it, the stranger I felt. When I close my eyes around it, I think I see the features of a face. Though I can't be sure if I'm really seeing something or if it's just my imagination. What does the face look like? Ancient, but young at the same time. Its eyes are closed, but it seems to be speaking. Does it appear human? Elven? It's hard to say. Difficult to describe at all, really. I just see it. For all we know, it really could be my imagination. It could be. I only hope our concerns about it stem from our imaginations.
Hold on.
They can't entirely. At least that's not all. At least that's not a hypothesis that can coexist with the warning your father gave us. No, you're right. But it is possible that the worst outcome has already been avoided. Let's hope that's the case. You have a gift for soul magic, Elias. So I've been told. That's a blessing that comes at a great price. I'm sure the gods will require it of you time and time again before the day is done. Then may I use it honorably, for the good of all. I trust that you will. Irving, how are you feeling? It wouldn't be right to complain, but you want to. Let's just say I can remember a time in my life when my whole body wasn't sore, though only very distantly now. I think I know just the spell for that.
Don't worry.
Please, Marin, don't bother. I just need to rest. Stubborn as always. How did it go? Your talk with your father. As well as can be expected. I'm sure he was devastated by the news. I have a feeling Vesta may have softened the blow a bit, but yes, I have no doubt he was. How did he react? He was strong, as I'm sure he was always trained to be. A man in his position is never far from loss. Still, I'm sure he was uniquely painful. With Sterling, he lost more than a son. I think he... I'm sorry, Irving. I wasn't trying to bring all of this back up again.
Sterling.
No. It's alright. I need to say this. My father felt he lost a piece of himself too when my brother died. At least he felt that way. I think anyone whose life even remotely intersected with his would say the same. I know I would. He always considered you a trusted friend, and I was always honored by that, just as I was honored to be at his side in the end.
Still.
I know you did everything you could, Marin. I hope you don't blame yourself. Don't worry. I don't. It's one of the first lessons you learn as a hero. The easy way or the hard way. Oh, just thinking of that choked me up a bit. Oh. Then perhaps it's a lesson you can teach the rest of us. If I can, I will. Feeling any better? You look better. I'm glad I don't look worse. Hard to imagine what that would look like at all. Thanks, Garrick. Don't mention it. So, Father's an interesting character. He's certainly larger than life. He has your same commanding presence. That must be where you get it from. Suppose it's possible. Is he all you expected him to be? I'm not sure what I expected. He's impressive, to be sure, but still a man. I'm told this is a stage most children go through, often later in life, where they discover their parents' limitations and flaws. I'm not so familiar with it myself, as I was painfully aware of my own father's flaws from the moment I was capable of awareness in any capacity. Yes, Garrick. Anyone who's spoken to you for more than a moment knows that. I'm also told consistency of character is something to be admired.
Not quite.
I'd like to know where you've been getting your advice. Just things I've picked up here and there. Then maybe you should be more careful with your hands.
Well, what do you know?
Funny you should say so. I've been told that before, too. I'm sure you have. I know that you had a disappointed face, Irving, but Garrick's just fun. That's the best way I could say, is he's just fun. You have marvelous hand-eye coordination, Sia. Gee, thanks. It's not a compliment gals like me normally get about their... Uh, okay, we're just gonna skip over that. Gals like you. I find this troubling.
This is fun.
Oh, I'm just poking fun. You know as well as I do, fun poked is often thin-veiled truth. I'm not sure I do. And one day you might. Tell me, how would you describe gals like you?
See it now?
Barmaids, serving girls, gorgeous young country folk.
Aren't you clever?
And yet here we are fighting for something greater than ourselves. You are no barmaid. And you no longer a monk because you left the no longer a monk because you left the monastery? A monk and barmaid are two different things. One is an occupation, the other is a state of being. It seems overly generous to your own point of view, don't you think? Being a barmaid consumed my daily routine and thoughts. Now I don't have to do any serving. I don't have to do any monking. That doesn't mean I don't think about it, nor does it say the same for you. This is worth consideration, I must admit. The quality of your arguments make it increasingly difficult for me to agree with you. I think I must have some subconscious bias towards serving folk. Everyone does. You're a sweetheart, and I can tell there's 1,000 thoughts swirling in your head at any given time. Only a serving girl knows a serving girl. See. Was that just weirdly philosophical? I don't know. Hey, barmaid girl. Well, that's a greeting. Who do you think you are? The name is Sia.
Relax.
I know. Seemed like an easier way to get your attention quickly. It worked. What do you want? Well, I wanted to ask you about Duskwater. I don't think I've ever mentioned Duskwater. Yeah, I asked Bianca.
Aren't you clever?
Of course you did. What do you want to know?
Well,
Honestly, anything you're willing to tell me. I grew up with nothing at all. I was an orphan, and where the coins flipped differently, I may have starved in the desert. Jeez, that's awful, which is why you laughed. Yeah, but that isn't the point. I was sold this idea that Aramorans and Delians are so different. That's what got me into fighting. I'm starting to see here that there really isn't much difference. There really isn't much different between us. Black Abyss. Our two towns would be in the same kingdom if you just moved them both up 100 miles. I guess that's true. I don't know. I never thought much about Aramor. I was surprisingly busy with helping my parents run the inn. What was it called? The Doddering Bandit. Sort of dumb, but it stuck. Check 1 for similarities. Inn names are ridiculous in Aramor too, though I think it's like that everywhere. How could it not be? No one wants to stay in some dreary place. Inns should be lively. Fair point. Let's see. What do you even to ask about? I know this may seem strange to you, but I genuinely never learned anything positive about Delians. Hate to say it, but it sounds like you barely learned much either way if what you were told was intended to spur your violence. Fair point again. Sorry to start this conversation this way. I've just been set in my ways a pretty long time now. It's in my nature to love, not fight. I don't know how I got caught up. I don't know how I got all caught up. Good. I'm trying my best. Something you see. Something you see. Serving a town that knows its share of mercenaries. Fighting is an easy thing to get into. Easiest thing in the world, really. Getting out? That's hard. You managed to stuff a lot of wisdom in a little barmaid. Yeah, I've seen more heartbreak and ruin than I care to think about. Even now, you've jumped from fighting to fighting. At least now there's a cause. We think that now. Everyone fighting does. We won't know whether there really was until it's too late. Sia. I love Sophia just because she's cute and adorable, but Sia's actually, like... She's just fascinating to talk to, honestly. Woo! You don't mess around. Catch your breath. You're not ready to learn how to fight to the brink of exhaustion. You need to master the fundamentals first. You fight with your mind. That is good. But we need to master your instincts first. I like to be in control of my actions, thanks. Then you'll like to be dead. Sometimes the blade must be faster than your mind. Instinct is an incredibly powerful ally, but it is also dangerous. How so? It's hard to describe. Just take this at face value. You will be a better fighter if you learn to separate your instinct from your thoughts. Control of both is essential. It's confusing, but I trust you.
Thank you.
Good. It sounds like we may be getting somewhere after all. So, when you come at me from the left like that, it makes sense for me to twist and dodge back. That is correct. But in the moment, when we were sparring, my first instinct was to lean in, pass the blow, and strike. A dangerous maneuver, but one that would have won you the fight and left you... unharmed. I see what you're saying with the danger. How do you learn to make these decisions so quickly? There is a fine line between self-preservation and losing your edge. Fighting is about being dynamic. Yes, that's all well and good. How do you learn to make these decisions so quickly?
I don't know.
Don't know. Don't know, Sia. I don't have an answer. I'm hoping if we drill into you... I'm hoping if we drill it into you and get you enough experience, it will come. That is how it happened for me. Seems like a risky proposition to me. Little value can be found in places devoid of risk. When did you become the wordy philosopher? When you're the only one around to hear me. Hey, that almost sounds like you consider us friends. She didn't say no. You are a nobility among your people, correct? I am. It has been many years since I traveled to Delia. Would you mind telling me of one of your traveling companions?
I'm intrigued.
Depends on what you're asking. My interest is simply cultural. Do you know that all of my kin are adepts? I am. I read of the exiled while studying in my youth. I wish to know more about Arumi. We'll translate, help me again. Orima. I wish to know more about Orima, the Sonari.
I don't get it.
And you come to me for a history lesson? I don't know anything about him.
If you must know.
Not for a history lesson. Your lack of familiarity with his history is why I sought you out. I wish to know how he has acted since joining you. Huh. He's not very talkative, but he definitely had his share of bravery. He's definitely had his share of bravery and honor. Seems like he really cares deeply about the cause, even with no personal stake. Not sure what to make of that. He is of singular purpose. You could say that, yes. He conducts himself with grace, never oversteps his bounds. He is nothing like Orima. He's nothing like the Orima that fought in the arenas many years ago then.
Acceptable.
I don't expect... Oh my... Ugh. I don't expect so. I would imagine he settled down a great deal in his long isolation. I hope so. Thank you for indulging my interest. As you have a familiarity of my people, I hope you do not find my presence distasteful. Who am I to judge? Orima. Benji. Orima the Sonari. This is absolutely unreal. Take it you've heard of me?
Nothing less than the best.
From Sarah, yeah. Sounds like where you come from, you're the best.
The arena.
That's some assertion. but I was the longest reigning champion of the arena before my... That's some assertion, but I was the longest reigning champion of the arena before my exile.
Please clap.
Impressive. We don't have an arena in Red Hill, but if we did, I would have been the same. Just to give you a sense of my background. I see. So you're a man who enjoys a good challenge, then? Never turn one down. It's a good thing we share this road. There's no telling what we'll face from one day to the next. That's what's so exciting about all this traveling we're doing. Growing up in Red Hill, training day in and day out, I never knew the world was so big.
Things change.
No matter how much of it you've seen, it's still bigger. Terrazel is as alive as its inhabitants. No place is ever the same on the second visit. I've never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. Whoa. Sip with that. It should last you a while. Probably a little longer than you think. So tell me, was my trial as great a challenge as you anticipated? Greater. It was the greatest challenge and honor I had yet experienced.
You seem to have things under control.
Yet, you prevailed. I had assistance. Indeed. Some fight by strength, others by talent, and some by luck, aka Benji. Your strength comes from your skill.
I like that.
Your friends are fierce fighters. You trained long to fight as you do. I can respect that. Fierce as they were hardly my friends when I faced you. Our paths only just crossed up the road. Then you sought to challenge me alone.
That's right.
I did, and traveled many leagues to do so. Why? What drew you to do it?
Failure is a great teacher.
I learned all I could of the martial arts at the monastery. It was long past time to put my training to the test. I can imagine that explanation was pleasing to your superiors. I came to discern the call of the gods, and when my training was complete, I heard it. I was called to challenge Orima, Sonari. So it was. Well, I hope to remain worthy of your call. You've yet to give me a reason to doubt it. Timing, Sophia. You really could work on your timing. What? Is this about what I said on the boat? I wish it were only about that. Look, all I'm saying is, everywhere we go, people think we've showed up just in time to solve their problems. For free, too. How does that work? It's like we've got big signs around our necks that say free help. In fairness, I would like to think we look somewhat formidable. Wouldn't that scare people? The wrong people.
Ta-da!
It doesn't seem to work that way. Maybe I'm just too cute. Maybe butter, though. I wouldn't be too sure. Perhaps it's the ferret. Have you thought about ditching it? I saw a nice patch of wood not too far... Sloan! You're terrible. You didn't hear that, did you, Butter? No. You don't speak mean. You are so predictable. It hurts. At least I'm consistent and nice to harmless little animals. That's one way of looking at it. I'm not sure any of your enemies would call Butter harmless. Well, then you better not become one.
That's cute.
I'm shaking in my boots. Not wearing boots.
No.
No, Sophia. Technically... How'd you get around in those... How do you get around in those things anyways? Very carefully. Gracefully, too, I hope. Yeah. Keep hoping. Hey, Benji. Do you mind if I ask you something? What's it about?
Well,
You!
All right.
Sweet! I love talking about that. It's a clown fiesta, but it's awesome. Great! I was just wondering... Oh, this is silly. Go ahead, ask away. Well... Oh god, this is so embarrassing. But how strong are you? I mean, have you ever actually measured it in some way?
Hmm.
It's a great question, Sophia. Not at all embarrassing. I've been asked that many times before.
Uh-huh.
So what's the answer? Well, I can tell you this. At the time when we left Red Hill, I knew I was the strongest man for miles around, and that was a proven fact. And how did you know that? We've had several contests over the years. At my peak, no one's ever even come close. Wow, that's really impressive.
Hey, thanks.
Tell me about it. You want to hear a little story? Sure, I love stories. Once, on our farm, our oxen died while we were tilling the fields. Oh no, that's terrible! Yeah, it was not a pretty sight. Anyways, I carried its body off to the side, put on the yoke, and finished tilling the fields all by myself. Oh, Benji! Oh, Benji. Whoa, I'm just trying to picture that in my head. I mean, not in a weird way or anything. How much was there left to do? About half.
Huh?
Half? Oh my god, it's Benji. That must have been insanely hard. Oh yeah, totally. Well, not for me, of course, because of my training and everything. But for most people, yeah, it would have been basically impossible. Right, well, I'd say that's a pretty good answer.
All right.
Glad to hear it. Let me know if you have any more questions. Will do. Oh. Elias, hey, thanks for what you said back there. After our run-in with the elementals,
Sure thing.
just thought I could offer some perspective.
If you say so.
You've definitely done that. Even meeting other adept is a new perspective. One from New no less. It's a miracle either of us made it out. Miracles, as you understand them, generally involve divine intervention. Believe me, I would have taken any help I could get, but I don't recall receiving any. I ran for the border as fast as these legs could take me.
That sounds right.
It's a fair point. I guess I was lucky enough to have some support from my parents. They received the news well then, I take it?
I don't know.
It would have been hard for them to do anything else. After all I'd been through that by them.
I'm with you.
I understand. How old were you when you knew? 16. I was training in an open field with my tutor too when it happened. I kept making the same mistake and I started getting frustrated. Then I remember flashes, thunder, and waking up on the ground. My parents agreed to help me hide it at first, but eventually it just became too dangerous. Without using my abilities, I'd never learn to control them. What you mean? Yeah. So eventually they gave me what they could, and set me on my way. What about you? When did you learn you were an adept? I was 15, preparing supper for my family like any other evening. The day had been full of hopeful anticipation. Then, practically before I'd finished opening the oven, the whole kitchen was in
I'm not
flames.
sure.
Wow, that sounds incredibly scary. I don't think I would have known what to make of it. I was terrified, almost too terrified to help douse the flames, and definitely too terrified to come up with a reasonable excuse. I was not so fortunate as you to have empathetic parents. The most mercy they could muster was allowing me a day's head start over the authorities. Sorry, Elias. Please, don't apologize. All you've done is give me hope. Perhaps being an adept in Newlias isn't an automatic death sentence after all. There may be others like us out there, wandering
I
Etland.
trust you.
Never would have guessed before I met you, so I guess I share that hope. I'm sure we'll put it to good use. Ford, as a man of the sea, do you ever wonder what strange horrors might be out there, lurking in the depths?
Look, kid.
You don't have to wonder when you've seen them, my friend.
Impossible.
Have you really seen some? Gods, I don't think I could ever set sail after that. Eh, most of the big stuff you see is in the southern tropics where the water is warmer. Large surface area helps them regulate their body heat. I'm impressed. I didn't know you took an interest in marine biology.
No chance.
I don't, but I transported someone who did once. Field research isn't my preferred work, but hey, this guy could pay. Son of a... So remember Orima, and I'm gonna look this up. Newlasian. Son of a Newlasian count or something. I knew the type. More coin than anyone could count in a lifetime. No intention of allowing anyone to forget that fact. Yeah, this one was tolerable enough at least. And interesting. But I definitely learned there are parts of the sea that are better avoided. I'll take note of that. Done much sailing before our little trip? None at all.
Mwah,
Well,
perfecto.
that sounded like a completely different voice. Well, consider yourself lucky then. You got your introduction from the best tour guide seas have to offer.
Charming.
Though not exactly the most humble one. It's not a title I'll ever claim. I'm sure you'd have much... not sure you'd have much luck if you did. Oh my gosh, Benji, jeez. Benji's talking about everyone. I meant to ask, Benji, how was that for new battles and Heights of Glory? You mean what happened at Swift Harbor? Yep. Biggest combat engagement either of us might hope to see. Maybe hope to see. Maybe hope isn't the right word. Definitely the kind of thing that goes down in history. Just also way shorter than I expected.
Definitely.
In all the plays and fairs, the sword fights drag on and on. In real battle, it's often over as soon as someone gets skewered. Good point. Doesn't help when a powerful wizard all but wipes out both sides either. That was truly tragic. For Irving especially. Though, for what it's worth, it probably helped avoid a more drawn-out struggle. Something like that would only have worsened the animosity between our nations, if you can imagine that.
I'm lost.
I'll leave that to the politicians to figure out. Probably wise. I wouldn't mention that to Irving either. You got it. Well, I think you'd make your father proud, Benji, when you tell him everything you've been through. I sure hope so. Anyway, nothing wrong with a good battle, of course, but I'm hoping we get to change things up. I'm ready to take on some new challenges. Battles like that are hard to watch, aren't they? A little bit. So many of those people probably didn't even know each other, and they were just ready to... I don't know. Try not to think about it. I know what you mean, Benji. Many of them otherwise might have been friends, if their kings hadn't taught them to hate each other. I think that's worth reflecting on. I guess. It just kind of gets you down.
Now what?
Well, what about trying to change that? Bring people together to do something good. Or like Lincoln always talks about, protecting the innocent.
Hey, thanks.
Those things sound good. Yeah, I like that. Good, Benji. I do too. Oh man, I'm sick of all this waiting around. Itching to get back to the fight? You know I
It'll
am.
be alright.
Maybe you can use this as an opportunity to train your patience. Patience? What good is that gonna do? In the heat of battle, you gotta strike fast and strike hard. Sometimes, but being patient can also help you find the best opportunity to strike. Yeah, or make you miss the opportunity. You sure are stubborn sometimes, Benji. I did grow up around bulls, don't forget. That explains a lot. What makes you like patience so much anyway? You grew up watching flowers grow?
I don't know.
My grandfather did keep a garden, but no, I don't think that's it. Maybe it was just my time at the academy. I spent all those years toward passing the trials. I was lucky to get my time in the sun. So many never had the chance. I'm sure some of them were excited to skip the test and jump right into the good stuff. I know I would have been. For their sake, I hope you're right. And I hope they found what they were looking for too, instead of meeting their end with that sorcerer. Look, whatever that was, it wasn't playing fair. With determination like ours, we'll put a stop to that in no time. That's exactly right, Benji. We will. Oh my gosh, so much left. Oh my god. That's so much left. I always wanted to climb a mountain.
Well, what do you know?
And now look at you. You're absolutely tearing through your bucket list. Smart.
All right.
You bet. Life's too short to waste time. And even shorter for some. Exactly. Escarns was a pretty good climb, too, now that I think about it. It was, and that view was well worth it.
Nothing less than the
Views,
best.
views are temporary. Gains are forever. Yeah, look at these gains! Assuming you can retain them, of course. Benji. Best in class. Oh, I hope that's how it's pronounced. Benji best in class. The legendary warrior abundant both physical strength and proverbial wisdom. I'm going to look it up as soon as I listen to this one more time. Emulation. I'm going to... No.
Best in class.
It's German for best of all. I love it.
Benji!
Benji Best in Class Junior. Ah, so you take your father's name. Proudly, too. That must get terribly confusing.
No way!
Not really. Whenever he says Benji, I know he's referring to me.
Right.
And what about when you say it? Well,
You're really something.
don't think about that too hard, Benji. Life's short, remember? That's right. Benji. Hey, Benji. I didn't forget. Forget about what? Don't you remember? No. Does the smell jog your memory?
Whoa!
Barbecue! That's right. It's a fresh cut of venison, too. Get some while it's hot.
Hey, thanks!
Oh, wow. Thanks, Caius.
No way!
This is amazing. Yeah, it does the trick. You should save some for Sophia. You should.
Seriously?
I should. What about... Well, anyways, I'm not sure that's a good idea. She told me she hasn't had meat in years. It's possible that's because she's she's vegetarian, Benji. Oh, well, her loss. Safe to say you enjoyed that? Oh yeah, didn't taste exactly like I expected though. How did it taste? Better. Kinda got a kick to it. Haha, that's probably the... Carmenca. It's a spice we make in my homeland. Got a little vial of it if you want to take a look. Here. Whoa. It smells good, too. This would be incredible on some corn. Right, Benji loves corn. It's made for seasoning meat, actually. Or some cornbread. Corn chowder, creamed corn, popped corn.
Huh?
Benji. Benji! Corn stew, corn muffins, corn pudding. Maybe not corn pudding. Yeah, man. You go right ahead and hang on to that. I'll pick some up next time we're on that side of Aramore. Hey, Sloan. I wanted to ask, but kept forgetting. What kind of stories did your pa tell you about mine? Not many, I'm afraid. They didn't know each other long, and truthfully, I'm surprised you seem to know so much about him. Oh, sure. I know about him. My pa looked up to him, big time.
I'm intrigued.
Impossible. That doesn't really add up to what I've heard. Well, maybe you should do less math and more listening, huh? Let me spin you a tale like my pa would.
That's cute.
I guess we can do that. It's a cold, dark night. The year 1079. Benji. Benji the First is trudging through. They met in 1078, actually, during the New Lasian Border War. I remembered! Huh, must have forgotten the date. Anyway, trudging through the rain to sneak up on the encampment of New Lasians.
Nothing less than
He's-
the best.
He spotted the campfire from a ways off and was determined to save his brother in arms. He roared into their camp, and it turned out it was just Henry and his advisor. Their wagon had gotten stuck, so they were camping for the night. He sure felt silly. That isn't how I heard the story told. Well, I'm sure you heard it from the other side.
Benji!
Can you imagine a big hulking Benji in his suit of armor busting out of the campsite in the middle of the night? A terrifying thought, and exactly how my father had told the story. Why in the world did he think they were Aramorans? They were hundreds of miles from the conflict. You could never be too prepared. Never seen storm elementals get a taste of their own medicine like that, Iris.
If you say so.
Really? I'm surprised. I would have thought you'd attracted some before.
Definitely.
I have, but it seems like I could take a page from your book when it comes to dealing with them. I mean, you literally had sparks flying.
Hmm.
That's very kind. What was your first element? I'm sorry?
Huh?
When your powers manifested, how did it happen? What kind of element did you first unleash into the world? Oh, I was sparring and I let out a burst of lightning. I thought maybe I'd been struck, but then it happened. I thought maybe I'd been struck, but then it happened again. And again.
Who'da thunk?
I know that routine. Lightning, huh? I would have guessed fire, honestly. What about you?
Ugh.
For me, soul magic. I was in boot camp when I figured it out. Started accidentally phasing our during our sprint drills. Wow, so you discovered you were an adept only after you joined the army? Yep, got me transferred to a whole new division too. That makes sense. Anyway, Linkme told me that in Caramont, there's a tradition around that kind of thing. The first element an adept manifest is supposed to give them some insight into their personality.
That sounds right.
Interesting. I'd never heard that before.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe in that kind of stuff, but it's fun to think about. Makes you kind of reflect on yourself. I'll have to ask him what lightning was supposed to mean. I forget if he told me. Oh, alright. Well, I'd be curious to know. I'll get back to you. Hope it's interesting. It looks like 2 or 3 more, maybe? Garrick, I'm a bit worried about Irving. You've spoken to him recently, haven't you? I must have made an oath once to never let him go a day without my pestering. So yes, we've spoken. And while I can't imagine what he's going through is easy, I think I'm a lot less concerned than you are. That doesn't mean you're right to be. Oof. As cutting as your words are, you're probably true. It's... it's what gives them their sting. Well, regardless, given the circumstances, he seems to be doing alright. That's good to hear. I just wish there was something we could do for him. There always is, and I think we're doing it. To the best of our admittedly deficient abilities. I know, but it's just so hard to know what to do. On one hand, I don't want to bother him or remind him about his losses too much, but I also don't want him to think I don't care. The difference between you and me is that I don't mind annoying him. Quite certain I've been doing that all my life.
You're really something.
You can add me to that list of certain people too. Glad to have your vote of confidence. Can you try being serious for a moment?
Come on.
Are you sure you want that? I don't know you've ever seen what that looks like. Eric. Fine. Look, I think it's better to err on the side of too much attention. If he needs space, he could tell us. Besides, he bears the loss of his brother. Well, at most we bear the loss of a friend.
Right.
It's gotta feel lonely enough without us adding to it. You know, Garrick, I think you actually gave some sound advice there.
Huh?
Yeah, well, don't get used to it. Think I might like serious, Garrick. Sounds like what you really like is setting yourself up for disappointment. I'm sending this one in too. Like, it's been through the entire thing. I can't believe you stood me up for a tea date, Garrick. That wasn't very gentlemanly of you. Gods, I completely forgot.
No.
No, you didn't. You were just spending too much time with Sia to remember.
Right.
Guilty as charged, I guess?
Ugh.
I get it. She's fun and I'm intimidating. It's alright. I wasn't really looking for something anyways. Whew, that's great to hear. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Hurt my feelings? Back this up for a second. I'm supposed to hurt your feelings, not the other way around.
Great.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, come on.
You're just a little heartbreaker, aren't you?
What a joke.
I didn't even do anything. You were trying to woo me. I was just being funny. What does a tea date have to do with wooing? I've been on 100 tea dates. As have I. All with the intent of wooing. That sounds like a you problem. I just happen to really like tea.
Gods.
We both know that's a falsehood. When did you learn so much about me then, huh?
Ugh.
I do my research. This is on you, Garrick, not me. You were disinterested and you lost your chance. I'm sorry.
Guess I'll state the obvious.
I was not
Are
disinterested.
you sure?
Then maybe you should have acted interested. Insufferable. Oh, that was the last one? Really? It was good to see you get on the boat. Familiar faces are few and far between right now.
Explain.
What in the world are you doing with these people?
Hmm.
You heard that my father disowned me and I dropped off the map, I presume. Of course. Where were you?
Ugh.
Captured by bandits, funnily enough. Irving and the others rescued us. Us? Ah, Sophia is the dearest friend I've ever had. Though I'd appreciate you not... Ah, Sophia is the dearest friend I've ever had. Though I'd appreciate you not telling her that. Her family took me in after my exile. Fed me, clothed me. In peasant garbs, I'm sure. I'd love to see what that looked like. I'm sure you would, you fiend. Either way, we stuck with them. I have no place in Sojourn, and there are other reasons to stick around. What happened in the Wastes? Last I heard, your traveling companions wiped out both the Aramoran and Delian armies and killed the commander.
Gods.
Keep your voice down. Sterling's little brother is on board. He had to watch him die, and now he has to carry the guilt that the whole kingdom thinks he was the one to kill him. That's awful. From what I've heard, Sterling was a good man. Yes, and so is his brother. Monroe, I know you have no real purpose in Varroa, so I won't pity. So I won't pry. I think you should join us. I can't explain why until you promise to stay with the group.
Naturally.
Alright, Valmiran. Alright, Valmiran. I've known you a long time, and never known you to care for anything at all. You have my curiosity. Funny. I've been waiting for an apology, and here we stand. No one apologizing. Strange. Very cute, Sloane. I don't mind you being rude, or even comparing me to people I've never met, that I'm sure you have a low opinion of. I do mind you waltzing around thinking you know me. You don't.
Fine.
Prove it, then. Prove I don't know you. How do you suggest I go about doing that? Give up on trying to get all your money and power back. You don't need it to be happy.
That's cute.
Brooke, do you realize how silly that sounds coming from someone who kills people to acquire money and power? You do realize that. I do realize that, actually. That's the fun thing about all this. I don't need to not be a hypocrite right now. Double negatives. You are simply impossible. You wouldn't understand what it's like to have everything, all your life, and then have it taken away.
No.
Nope, I wouldn't. What I do understand is that I've seen countless heirs and heiresses dictate their lives just to get back to where they were as a kid. It's sickening to watch. I think you can be better than that. Oh, so now you're my biggest supporter. Pick a side, woman. How long is this going to take for you to understand that there are no sides? I don't need this, but you might. Excuse me if I don't believe that your motives are so pristine. You're excused. Did everything? Yep. That was so much. I waited way too long between the last one and this one. Or maybe we just got so many new friends since then. I don't know. Point is, whoo boy. Either way, gotta go ahead and end this, and we'll see you next time in an actual stage. Did I save? Either way, I'll see you then.